Hello, my name is Marcielle Brandler, and this is Marcielle Presents. We always talk to people who give back to our community, and I have a glowing, darling person here today, Lisa Garr of KPFK Radio and Gaiam TV. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me. I
appreciate
appreciate
it. So cool to have you.
It's fun.
I'm so excited. I just want to say, first of all, if you could put up the picture of Lisa. This is a portrait of Lisa, and she has dedicated her life to the awareness of herself and others. Because of her desire to live in a more conscious world, Lisa created the Aware Show, a radio show about natural health, personal growth, and spirituality, heard by millions over the years. And I used to listen to the Aware Show, and now you're everywhere. You're not just on the Aware Show. I mean, it's like amazing.
It's because of the conversation. It's because people want to have this conversation about consciousness. And
Wow.
It's not at a mountaintop, here I am, enlightened being. It's everyday practical consciousness. How do we deal with stress? How do we deal with life? How do we support ourselves through health? And how do we raise our children in a conscious way? So it's because people want to have the conversation. It's no longer something you talk on the phone with your best friend or your mother or your sister about. It's everywhere.
And it's a global phenomenon.
Yes.
I mean, everything is, it's like people are really, and I used to listen to the show once a week, and I've heard you interviewing amazing people, and I have to say you have this charming, infectious laugh. It's like a cross between a giggle and something else, and it's just so nice to hear you. I'm driving down the street and I always make sure that if I'm in the car, I get to listen to you.
Really?
And
that's great.
yeah,
No, that's
it's
great.
like so wonderful to hear you.
It's because I am truly enjoying what I'm talking about.
I can tell.
I love it. I live for it. It supports my life.
Yes.
And if it supports mine, then it supports others. So
Yes.
that's the whole point. And I have a good time. I mean, this isn't work for me.
It doesn't sound like it.
No,
it is
my
work, but it doesn't
oasis.
feel like it.
No,
Yeah.
this is fun for me.
Fantastic.
Have a good time.
And can you put up the Aware Show logo? Mark Victor Hansen of Chicken Soup for the Soul said, I think the world of her and her great and inspiring show. And I read that you guys are friends.
Oh, you know
Very
what?
close friends.
I've had the show for 12 years, and so now I'm going on to internet television and Hay House Radio and terrestrial radio here in Los Angeles.
Gaiam TV.
And Gaiam TV. And so I've been interviewing these folks for 12 years. I've watched them go from best-selling book to stage presentation to the internet now. And I talk with them all the time because we talk about where trends are going. And if there's an event that happens that devastates our country or our nation or our world, we talk about that and we find out how we can all support each other and support other people.
And support other people. And we have a picture of you with Wayne, of course. And this is you and Wayne Dyer backstage at the I Can Do It conference in Pasadena. Good old Pasadena. Wow, that is so cool. How did the two of you meet?
Wow, how did we meet? Doing the radio show for so long. I'd been interviewing him for, over a decade. And we met through having these conscious conversations. And then one day I was at a conference in Maui, and the conference was right next to where he lives.
Oh.
And we wound up, meeting each other and saying hi, and he just made a vow to support me and he does this. He takes people under his wing and he says, I believe in you. I want to carry, because he knows he has a powerful voice. And the people that are doing good work in the world, he carries along with him and says, here's a pair of wings, now go fly. And he's so supportive like that.
That is wonderful.
He really, really is. He has an amazing just spirit, and he's a very wise person as well.
And so, how did you get all these other great guests in the beginning?
In the beginning, they find once these guests who are writing about anything that has to do with the power to change people's minds, thoughts, beliefs, scientific-based theories and philosophies.
Right. Medicines.
Right, and when they write about that and they find out there's a media outlet to express their messages, they found us. I mean, we get thousands of submissions a week to be on the show, but it's great because we try to fit everybody in, and we do.
That's wonderful.
Eventually, we do.
Yeah, you have so many. I mean,
that's
it's
why
amazing.
I have that many more outlets now. I was on twice a week. Now I'm on 5 days a week. So we have a lot more.
How you do it all. How do you do it all?
I have a little candle on my desk, and it says anything is possible. That's how I do it all. I look at that. I light that candle every show. I do, and I believe in the world of possibilities.
Yes. Well, it's funny. I have a little note on my bedroom door, and it says, "Rise above your quote problems." Like, be greater than your problems.
Great points.
And not indulge in, I'm a baby, I can't do that. No.
And about that, anything is possible, Candle. Even if things happen that are traumatic and devastating, there's possibilities within the trauma, and there's solutions within the devastation. And so it's not that I rise above and think that I'm on a horse that has no tragedy. I'm in a place where I look for the possibilities in every situation I'm in.
That's great.
And that's how I attempt to live my life.
And that's good. That's a good message for all of us, that, not just I'm bigger than this problem, but that incorporating that into our consciousness and saying, and also the lesson from the problem.
I was just going to say that.
Because I figured you were.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you also had Bruce Lipton on your show. And can we have that picture of Bruce at the I Can Do It conference? And I've taught his book and contacted him too. And I'm just so impressed by him, his book, Biology of Belief.
He's amazing. The last thing he said to me, which was so interesting, is that you can change the biochemistry of your blood with your thoughts.
Yes.
And he just states evidence upon evidence upon evidence that is true. Yeah. And how the chemical reaction happens from the endorphins and all the chemicals that release into the blood that then raise the chemistry and create white blood cells and it's such an amazing process that happens. And it really stems from the power of your perception of your environment.
And you create the environment for the cells to change instead of blaming this is inherited in me and That's kind of how I started the show, because I had been in a place where I was fired from my fourth job. And I was obviously not in the industry that the universe wanted me to be in. And I had at the same time been going through meditation classes and intuition classes and just learning how to develop my intuition and how to sit and meditate, which was great. So I was in this place where I was in conflict, yet I was learning that there is a world of possibilities that we live in. And at the same time, I kept having this reoccurring dream. And the dream was a train. It was a locomotive train. And I kept having this dream, and I didn't know what it meant, but it was inside the locomotive train was a control room, much like a television studio. And there was audio boards, and there was television monitors, and there were screens. And controlling all of this were these high swivel-back chairs. And sitting in the chairs were visionary leaders having a blast. Oh, how cool.
Spinning like children in joy.
That's fantastic.
And it was so significant because... And then I would step back from the dream and within the dream, and on the side of this train was the word aware. Oh. And I kept having this dream of this train and going to the thing and stepping out and aware, and then the train and I kept having this dream over. And I remember one specific morning where I woke up and it was like one of those shot out of bed feelings, and I said, I need to do this.
I understand my dream.
I get
now,
it. So once I got that, I had a friend that said, there's this radio station that just went that's going out of business, and they're looking for programmers to be on the air. Do you want to take one of the time slots? Because the programmers were leaving because the company was being sold. And I said, sure. And I took over their main time slot. So I went into where there was listeners, and I started talking about the things that I was learning about meditation and about my spiritual teacher and about acupuncture and about people healing cancer with apricot seeds from the Hansens, and people that really were making a difference in the world.
Yes.
And people started listening. And then I got the show on KPFK, and then it was, after that. So for me, it was a series of that dream was the Aware Show. It was great visionary leaders that were leading us in the direction of something that I jumped onto, that I believe was in motion before me, which if you think and you study about the continuum of the universe and how there's no space and time, you understand that things happen before us and after us.
Yes.
We say yes to that
right.
decision, and then we're a part of it.
Well, and also the conscious mind and the subconscious are talking to each other when we're sleeping. And if you have a recurring dream, it usually gets more and more intense because the subconscious, if you don't do anything about it, the subconscious says, hey, and you sleep some more and you don't do it, louder.
Wants you to listen.
And then like you shot up in bed, slapped you in the face and said, you're going to do this, girl.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's one of those, I mean, there's so much that you can find from it's following your dreams, it's listening to your intuition, it's not letting the brick fall on your head before and listen to the feather tickles every now and then, if you know what I mean.
Yes, that's fantastic. And you helped Bruce Lipton to gain traction for his findings on epigenetics. And if people want to watch him, you can look him on YouTube. I mean, it's a really good film on him.
Powerful, yes.
Very powerful. And people need, our consciousness needs to go beyond that, well, I inherited this sickness, that consciousness, because that's not, they've discovered that that is not true. And let me just ask you as an interviewer, because, I'm interviewing you, but you interview thousands of people. What qualities should an interviewer have?
There's no formula. It's just ferocious curiosity. It's just wanting to know.
Yes.
And I said earlier, whatever I want to know, other people are going to want to know. I kind of use my intuitive abilities also during the shows to intuit what's being asked.
Yes.
And I will hear a message just screaming in my head, I want to know this, and then I'll ask it. And I get the messages from the emails from the viewers all the time saying, you ask the questions that I want to hear.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Because I'm hearing, in a way, I hear them throughout the show. And if somebody will say something, I'll get this message in my head saying, that doesn't make sense. I want to know this about that. Or that's not my situation. What happens in my case? And I hear this.
Can you clarify? And do you have like a list of questions to kind of guide you just in case? I do
about 2 hours of research on every guest that I have on.
Yeah.
I dive in.
Yeah,
I use
you really
it.
have to.
I do. I love it.
Yeah.
I can't put it down.
It teaches you because it's expanding you as a person.
Yeah. And I sometimes stay up till wee hours in the morning because I read this because it's so interesting.
That is so cool. And then we have another picture of Denise Meadow and
Denise Lynn and her daughter Meadow. Wow. She
Denise
had a powerful story.
Meadow, Lynn with you. And this is from the same conference, the
Hay House I Can Do It conference.
I Can Do It conference.
Denise in the dark hair there has just a phenomenal story of how, wow, her story was incredibly tragic, how she was shot when she was a teenager and attempted murder. And the way that she forgave her attempted killer and how that she's gone on to teach about forgiveness and to teach about surviving in extreme trauma and how to find the possibilities. Her daughter there, she was never supposed to have a child based on her injuries, and she was shot in the uterus. I mean, it was just, her story is incredible about going beyond limits to find possibilities and that anything truly is possible.
Yes.
She's an incredible example, and I love people who have those stories to share. And it is my divine purpose on this planet to give those people the biggest platform possible.
Bravo.
That is why I'm here.
Wow.
It is to give people like that the message so that every other person that has experienced tragedy can understand, if she can do it, I can do it. Oprah did the same thing.
Yes.
She brought on people that went from tragedy to triumph, and she spent every day of her life giving those people the biggest platform possible.
Yes.
And yes, I would love to do that and to follow in her footsteps in the consciousness world and bring people like, these phenomenal authors and people who have had incredible stories, give them an amazing platform so people out there can get the messages.
It's funny because I was in a study group and we were studying Eckhart Tolle along with Oprah. She had Eckhart Tolle on her show, and so that was really cool.
I just want to say part of that dream that I was having was a message that came in, and it's so clear that it's communicate messages that inspire positive growth and change.
Wow.
The message came in. It was like a tagline to the show.
Yes.
Communicate messages that inspire positive growth and change.
And at the end of your show, you always say, you know,
I inspire you, or I invite you to listen to your own truth.
Yeah, listen to your own truth, like, and allow the listener to say, well, I don't believe that. Fine, it's okay. It's not like we're pushing it. We're just allowing and offering it. And
it gives
that's
a
so
space.
important.
It gives a space for somebody to be able to have it.
Yes.
Rather than me telling you what is my belief, I give people the space to be able to have it.
Exactly. That's so important. And let me just ask you too, what drives you? Oh, you kind of said it, you know, that mission that you have.
When you connect with your true purpose, it's like connecting with your true north.
Yes.
It's what when you find that star and you follow it, then everything falls into a place and aligns itself in order for it to be possible. And I have amazing people around me who, producers, executive producers, who've been with me for over a decade, who make it all possible as well, because it's their purpose too. It's their part of the train, they're part of the vision. We've attracted as souls to make this happen.
Wow.
And that's how it works.
That is so wonderful. Now here you are on your Gaiam TV show. Can we see that picture in the control room? This show had been filming live in Boulder, Colorado for the past year, but a studio has now been set up for you in LA. And this is your new control room.
That's actually the Los Angeles studio, which is amazing. We basically converted an office at the NBC Universal building to a studio, and the background is the gorgeous Hollywood Hills, and it's beautiful there.
Wow.
Yeah, I shot the show in Colorado for a year, and at Gaiam, and they also have an incredible mission to get consciousness programming, and I believe consciousness programming's future is on the internet.
Yes.
It could go to mainstream if it wants to, but I think it's programming that people will find if they're looking for it. It's more so on-demand programming.
Do a search,
If you're looking for it and then you find this beautiful network that has consciousness programming 24/7, then you found your home.
Yes.
And so that's what Gaiam is doing.
That is wonderful.
And I'm glad to be a part of it.
And then here's you, another picture, you with Lisa and Doreen Virtue. She's a spiritual doctor of psychology, author of more than 50 books with appearances on Oprah, CNN, The View, and many more.
Doreen is, she's actually Hay House's best-selling author.
Oh, is she?
Believe it or not, she is above, all of their authors there, because she speaks truth. And she talks about angels. But the most amazing thing is that she has her doctorate in psychology, and she was a counselor for a long time on eating disorders at a hospital.
Oh.
And so she comes at it from a real world perspective, where she has messages for people. When you hear a message, it's just like the people that communicate with lost loved ones.
Yes.
And when I see those people in a room of 2,000 people that come to see them, just like Doreen, and she starts saying a message to somebody, and someone in the audience bursts out in tears, that person connected with the truth, you can never explain. You can't explain it, but you can feel it, and you can experience it, and it changes your life.
It does.
And you can't recreate it or write about it, but when I see her communicate with somebody truth, it lights up the room. And that person, and it changed. That's what transformational programming is.
That's wonderful. And then with our dear Michael Bernard Beckwith, please show that. I love this man. I haven't met him, but I feel like I know him, like I feel like I knew you. And he teaches principles of new thought, ancient wisdom. He founded Agape in 1986, the Agape International Spiritual Center in Culver City, where thousands gather. He's featured in The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and actually The Secret, Rhonda is one of our sponsors here.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
great.
She helps sponsor the show. That must be a wonderful connection to have with Michael.
Oh, he's a wonderful man, and he's also on KPFK. He's also on the radio station.
I listened to his show.
Well. Yep, and we have always been aligned in our visions. He's a huge supporter of my show. I am of his work. We're constantly doing things together. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, he's a true spiritual representative and incredible thinker too.
And then Louise Hay, can we have that picture? Founder of Hay House. I didn't know this. And it's funny, I'm just giving a gift of You Can Heal Your Life, her book, to a girlfriend of mine. Within 6 months, she completely healed herself of cancer, all by herself, without traditional medical treatment. And of course, You Can Heal Your Life has been a bestseller. and is published internationally, and the beautiful Louise Hay.
She is an amazing person.
Wow.
I've had the privilege of spending some time with her, and I was in a room with her, and there was a bunch of other people around, and she would just sit and listen to their negative talk and their chatter. And she sat for about 10 minutes, and then she just one by one started saying, you know, you can change that thought. Well, what if you say it in this way? And she doesn't give anybody the space to say things in a negative way.
Yeah.
She'll just change it. She'll just hear it different, and she will make it right. And her languaging is truly committed to positive language isn't doing it justice. It's kind of what neuro-linguistic programming does.
It's like transformational language.
It's transformational language. It's conversational hypnosis.
That's a good way to put it.
It is. It tracks people into the direction of positivity without pointing it out, but just by putting them in the right direction.
I need to learn that. That's something I've got to
Very
learn.
powerful, and I've learned that as an interviewer too, is to pace somebody forward. As a caller calls in with the concern, to pace them forward, to get them unstuck, to get them out of the past, and to move them into a positive
without
direction.
judgment and without saying, you should do this, because that's
Exactly.
kind of me, is you should do the, you know, and then they don't do it, and then no, how could you not do that?
Well, you want to help.
Yeah.
But there's different ways to do it.
There's a better way to do it than that. So yeah. And you're working on your master's degree in transformational psychology from the University of Philosophical Research.
That's
wow.
a great place. I wish I had more time. I had to put that on hold because it was so much research and it was such a demand
That's
on my
amazing.
time. But I mean, it was studying the works of Raymond Moody and I mean, incredible people who have done phenomenal work in transformational psychology.
I should get your book list. That would be really cool.
My library is huge.
Wow.
It's a full walk-in closet and a whole wall of floor-to-ceiling books.
Wonderful. I love
It's fun.
that. And you've studied at Southern California Psychic Institute. What did you study there?
That was where I did the intuition training, where I studied. I mean, it was basically sitting in meditation and listening to your intuition and reading the energy from other people. So, and then you would talk to the person, you would say, well, I'm picking up this, and they would say yes or no, and you were picking up. So it's a muscle. Anyone has it.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of working with that muscle and fine-tuning it to understand which feelings you have. When I would get this floaty feeling like I was falling, and I would say what that thought was that I had, it would be a person's past life. And so I would get association with that feeling is going into a past life. That's what that can, and I would just get that feedback from a person, and I would understand. So it enabled me to fine-tune the muscle of my intuition.
Oh,
Anyone
wow.
can do that.
And you are a certified neuro-linguistic programmer, which that has to do with the brain.
Yeah, it's languaging. It's what I was talking about earlier. It's the conversational hypnosis. It's how to pace somebody forward into a healing place. It's how to set goals and how to do that through languaging.
And then your mentor, one of your great mentors, is Michael Tumeric. Can we have that picture, please? And he's a spiritual teacher.
Beyond. He is.
Beyond.
I gotta say, he is really ahead of his time, and I've been privileged to know him for about 20 years. And he was one of my teachers at the Psychic Institute, and he's just. I spoke with him today about. Wow, he has physically died 5 times, and he brings perspectives back from other realms that are out of this world. And the perspectives he brings back are all incredible messages, yeah.
And he's an award-winning author of You Are the Answer, and he's been featured on CNN, NBC, The Lisa Show, everywhere. Yeah. Here's a picture of you with Lisa Nichols. Can we have that picture at her show, I guess? And
that was really sweet. Lisa had again another person who I've been interviewing for so long and took me under her wing, and she's a platform speaker. She's an amazing motivational speaker. I mean, this woman is just a beacon of truth and light on a stage. And she said, why don't I share my stage with you? And I was so honored. And so she brought me out from behind the microphone, and I got to tell my story, and I got to talk with people and
that's wonderful.
teach, and it was great.
Now here's you and Lisa, Kayla, and John. Real quick picture with you and your sweetie. We have that.
That's my happy family.
Yay!
Yeah,
So
we
wonderful.
have an amazing bond, all three of us.
And then here's a picture of you mountain biking. We got to say goodbye with that picture. Our time has run out. Fantastic. The wonderful Lisa Garr. I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you.
This is Marcielle Brandler and Lisa Garr with Marcielle Presents, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.